listening to the most original talk radio station anywhere. We are LA Talk Radio at latalkradio.com.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the Fouché Way radio show, live every Thursday at 1 o'clock p.m., sponsored by a nonprofit organization called Canine Hope for Improvement Program, where we hope to improve the quality of our dogs' lives by moving towards a no-kill society. The number here is 818-602-4929. I want to welcome our three guests today, who are really more than just guests to me, because when you come on the show, you become part of a family. That is a support group made up of people who have been drawn together for a common goal, and that goal is to save lives and to gain knowledge. And I can't think really of a better reason to come together. You know, I mentioned once that it takes a family to raise a child, and it takes a pack to raise a dog. And we are now becoming both. But to the new listeners, I want you to understand something. How can you raise a dog if you don't know how to respond to the way they think? And so this seminar, Thursday, October 4th, 7 to 9 p.m., will give you a behind-the-scenes look at how the Fouché Way was developed. A family of dogs and friends. So come and join this group of people for 2 hours, and who are dedicated actually to a noble cause. And that website is www.saafla.org for tickets. Now the first member is Leroy of this pack. He has been here listening in every Thursday from the beginning. He is emotionally dedicated and connected to this show. So I'm excited to have him here. He's my right-hand man. He's always on the scene, ready to help anyone with a dog. A great guy with a good heart. And I'm honored to know him and have him on today. Now, our first guest is Krista. Krista, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Krista, you've got a very beautiful dog there. I hope all of our listeners have went to the Fouché Way Facebook page to take a look at this beautiful guy. I mean, I understand why you adopted him and saved his life, but I want you to tell our listeners how you came to get him and all the problems that you've been going through and the sleepless nights and, of course, I'm sure crying. Tell us what's happening with Stone.
We got Stone we got him around Thanksgiving of last year. He kept getting networked to me on Facebook, you know, like all the sad pictures you see. And his picture kept popping up over and over again, and it said that he was a 12-year-old blue pit bull at the West LA shelter. And I kind of have a soft spot for, you know, the old guys, and I was going to take him and let him live out his final days at my mom's house in Phoenix because she takes on a lot of older dogs.
Yeah, I was wondering.
He didn't have that much time to live.
Yeah, I was wondering because you've got two dogs of your own, so, you know, to take on this guy. Yeah, okay. So now
yeah, I mean, I never went out and was like, I want to go adopt a giant mastiff.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like the first thing I thought. I was going to send him to Phoenix. I've done it before. I've brought some older dogs and let them, you know, live out their lives at my mom's house. She's got a lot of property, and she's really great with the dogs. And, you know, I just figured he deserved to have some dignity in his old life.
So you never saw him, huh? You said pit bull.
No, I just have pictures of him.
Okay.
So I went to meet him at the West LA shelter,
mm-hmm.
and he was just a big, giant pile of bones. He weighed like 70 pounds.
Mm.
Realized he wasn't really 12 years old, and he wasn't a pit bull. He's actually a Cane Corso.
Mm. Did that scare you?
So no, it didn't scare me.
There's a lot of controversy about those dogs, so I was wondering.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely where the fear came in about him being around other dogs. I mean, once I got him home, I did all the research and, you know, studied up as much as I could on the breed and tried to understand, you know, what kind of dog it was and, you know, what he was used for and just the tendencies the breed has.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't really scare me because he was just, like I said, he was just a big pile of bones. He was 70 pounds and he couldn't walk, he couldn't stand up. he was just treated really, really badly. And his teeth were so messed up from chewing on metal or crates or whatever he was chewing on that they really couldn't tell how old he was.
How
and
long
he was
was
just a really sweet dog.
How long was he in the shelter?
He was there for about, I think, 11 or 12 days.
Wow. Is that the normal time, or was he there an extended period of time?
I think, I mean, I don't even know why they didn't put him down the second that he walked in. He couldn't walk. They said he had geriatric disease, and, you know, they had to carry him into the shelter, and they kept him in the back, like hidden away from everybody else. They kept him in the cat room. And, you know, all of his stuff, all of his intakes to say how sweet he was and how nice he was. And I think that's why they kept him around as long as they did.
Okay. And so you went to see him, and what happened?
I went to see him, and, you know, I finally just gotten sick of seeing his picture so many times, and all the people were like, oh, you know, this old guy deserves somebody to love him, and this and that, and, you know, it's all just lip service. And I finally got irritated one night, and I was like, I'm just going to go get him. So after I met him, you know, I can't really be like, well, it's not what I thought he was, so I'm not going to adopt him. I was like, you know, we'll make it work. We've got room. I mean, I know I've got a big pit bull at home, and I've got another 10-year-old who's aging. But I was, you know, I couldn't turn my back on him.
Okay. So you adopted him, and you know, you had to rehab him back to health, and, you know, what happened?
It took, you know, it took a long time to get his weight back up. You know, it was all just about feeding and giving him love, and we kind of gave him his own space. He just sat in the bedroom for about 4 months, and, you know, he was just exhausted. He sat there, and he started to gain weight, and then we'd try to take him on walks. And every walk that we would go on, he would just fold up into a little ball. Mm-hmm. And his face would go blank, his eyes would go blank, and he would just fold up, and he wouldn't move. He wouldn't do anything. My boyfriend and I would have to take our cell phones with us, and we'd have to call each other and be like, I'm on the corner of, you know, such and such. Can you come get us? Mm-hmm. And usually we bring down my girl dog, and she'd come down and kind of coax him to come back into the house. I mean, that went on for a good 6 months.
Wow.
And that's why when I first got him, you know, and I read about concorsos, and they can be human aggressive, or they're guard dogs, and they can, you know, if they're not socialized, they're never going to get along with other dogs, and this and that. And that's why it's like, when I first got him, I was like, well, I need to be the alpha, and I need to be dominant, and I need to do all these things. But he was just so shut down that, you know, we would move a pan in the kitchen, and he would just hit the ground and shake.
Okay.
Yeah. Any kind of correction we would give him, or any harsh, like if you said no to him harshly, he would fold up in a ball. And so that kind of derailed me from wanting to, like, really train him, which now I see is not the right thing.
Right. Exactly. You know, it's very interesting that we get dogs from the shelters. I talk about this all the time. And sometimes they may have kennel cough or whatever that thing is that's sapping their energy. It's difficult to realize what type of mentality the dog has, because the energy that is being used to heal the dog is shielding the personality. And then what happens is, when a dog begins to recuperate and regain its strength, then it goes back to what it remembers, what it has learned, or the personality that it really has.
Exactly, and that's the problem we started to see with him, was, you know, once we got his weight up, and once we got him to be a little bit more active and a little bit more engaged in, like, my pack and my other dogs, you know, that's when the problem started. Okay,
so what kind of problems were they? Can you tell us?
The first problem was in February, I think, that happened. Mm-hmm. So it was about 4 or 5 months after I had him. We'd always left him, all the dogs alone in the house, and everything had always been fine. We left about half an hour and came back to just a bloodbath. Him and my pit bull had gotten into it. And my pit bull was in the corner of my bedroom, just bloody, and Stone was pretty bloody too. He had some good bites up around his ears and down his legs.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
Okay, so what happened after that? What are you doing?
Well, you know, we kind of just calmed down, took a breath for a second, and assessed who was the most hurt. We ended up taking my pit bull to the emergency room, got him all checked out, made sure he was okay. And that's what I told you. The vet told me, you know, once the dogs get into it, once they fight, they're always going to fight. And she told me to rethink about rehoming Stone, actually.
Right.
And I brought them home and immediately put them back together, and they were fine. I learned my lesson. Now whenever we're out of the house, when we're gone, I keep the boys separated.
Okay. That's not a bad idea.
That was the first main problem.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Okay, so now we're moving on, and what's happening?
Walking him. You know, 'cause I live in an apartment, so I've got to take them out. He goes out about 4 or 5 times a day. And, you know, if he sees a dog and he's walking down the street and sees it, he locks in on it and just stares at it.
Okay.
And, you know, I always took that as kind of like a form of like aggression or confusion on his part as to what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And if the dog did get too close to him, you know, he would lunge and try to snap at it.
Okay. Now
And that's why I kind of just assumed that he missed his whole socialization window and that he, you know, just shouldn't be around other dogs.
Well, there's a combination.
And I never saw him.
There's a combination of things going on there. You know, you've heard of the concept of fight or flight.
Yeah.
Okay. And usually what happens is when you put a dog on a leash, you take away one of those options. And that flight option is taken away, and so the dog stands his ground and he fights. So you've got a little bit of that going on there, too. So go on.
Yeah, definitely. You know, there was a bit of that going on, and then, you know, part of me, you know, the whole stigma that you're talking about a Cane Corso and about a Mastiff and a guard breed came into mind, and I was like, well, I'm like, if it's not just all fight or flight, and it's not just, you know, that, I was like, maybe he's just an inherently aggressive dog, and maybe he just shouldn't be around other dogs, and shouldn't be around, you know, people. I didn't really have much hope for him, you know, being one of those dogs that's going to go to the dog park and hang out with other dogs and have play dates.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't really see that in his future, and that was fine with us.
After that one incident, you thought that?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you tried to get him help? You've got a lot of people around you that you can pull from, you know, friends, family groups, rescue groups, right?
Yeah, I mean, I reached out to a couple different trainers. I reached out to different people. I mean, actually, the first week I got him, I called a trainer and asked for help. You know, because I'm the first to admit I don't know much about this breed, and I asked for help, but he wasn't neutered at the time. So I was told that, you know, he wouldn't see him or evaluate him or anything until he was neutered.
Mm.
And by then, he started doing the whole fold up, you know, in a ball thing, so I put off the training. And then, you know, when he started to be aggressive again, I called other trainers and called people that I hoped could do an evaluation with him. I mean, that's all I kind of wanted. I just wanted a temperament, like, evaluation. I wanted to know what to work with. Because I'm more than willing to put the work in and do what I need to do, but I couldn't get the tools from anybody.
What do you mean tools? I mean, when you say tools, do you mean training? What do you mean exactly, tools?
I just mean any kind of plan as to how to handle him.
And you couldn't get any answers? Is that what you're saying?
I couldn't get any answers. I really couldn't get any answers from anybody.
From the
trainers?
trainers?
Then, you know, when it escalated to him being aggressive towards people, you know, and then I reached out even more and tried to find somebody to help me, I was just told that he was a lost cause, and I was told to put him to sleep.
Well, how'd you feel about that?
You know, after he got aggressive towards people, and not all people, just it got very territorial around my building and around my apartment especially. You know, the thought definitely crossed my mind, just because that's what you hear, and you know, you always hear, well, if a dog bites somebody once, it's always going to be aggressive, and you can never teach a dog not to bite. I mean, I was told that over and over again, that you can't teach a dog not to bite, and once it's, you know, tasted blood, it's like a shark, and that's just what it's going to do. You know, so it crossed my mind, but, you know, the thing that crossed my mind more than that was, you know, so many people have given up on this dog. I've never seen, like, such just a broken down mentally, you know, dog. I mean, getting him back physically was fine.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that wasn't the hard part. The hard part was just dealing with him mentally and emotionally. And I got to the point where I was like, so many people gave up on this dog, and I'm not going to do it. He loves us. Like, you know, there's no doubt that he is, you know, he's all in. And so if he's all in, I'm going to be all in.
You know,
and I was bound and determined to find somebody that could help him.
This is a perfect example of the concept of rescue. When we rescue the dog, we make sure it has all of its medical needs. We make sure it has a roof over its house and over its head and a nice warm bed to sleep in and good food to eat. And then voila, we're got now to deal with the mental state of this dog. And this is when dogs end up being returned to the shelter. And this is...
Yeah, that's easy stuff.
Yeah.
Feeding him's easy stuff. Giving him love's easy stuff. Making sure he goes to the vet and he's taken care of. I can do all that.
Right.
But he was just so mentally, and I've had rescues my whole life, but I've never had a dog that was just so mentally broke down before. And, I just look at him some nights, and, that's what I cried about. I cried about more, not just what am I going to do with this dog, or, what happens if he's aggressive, towards dogs and people. I cried more because I felt so bad that somebody had done this to this gorgeous, gorgeous dog.
He is that. Yes.
And he's sweet. And he's a good, good dog. He's just very, confused. And I'm sure, I take full credit for not really helping his confusion.
Well,
just from lack of not knowing what to do.
Exactly. Because this is when we get into the area of positive reinforcement and the love that we have for the dog and how, as a human, we relate to this dog to try to bring him out of that state of mind. When a dog is in the state of mind that you had there, locked in a room for months, showing signs of fear, the parental side in us comes out. And what we want to do is love, love, love. And all of our interactions with the dog is to try to bring him out of that state of mind from the concept of how humans think. And that's what you did.
Yeah, we definitely tried to do that. He does not lack for any kind of love or affection.
Right.
And I know from, being around dogs and stuff that wasn't really the way to go. But just again, it was hard for me to assert myself over such a broken dog. Right. I didn't really understand at the time that that's what he actually needed.
Yes and no. When we talk about asserting ourselves, and this is interesting that you said that, because this gets into the area of when we mention discipline and domination and how people think about those words, right? So when I talk about leadership, I'm not talking about the way people think. Well, let me back up. When I say discipline and domination, I'm not talking in the way that people think. This is why I use the word leadership, because leadership is different. Leadership is existing in the moment with the dog, leading them somewhere, showing them how to investigate the environment, not imposing my will on them. Okay?
Right.
And when we talk about asserting dominance on a dog, this is where we begin to lose the meaning of these words. Okay? What I'm saying is this dog needs to be shown how to investigate his environment. Okay?
Right.
Not from love and affection, not from being physical with him and controlling him in that way, but just knowing how to introduce him mentally and emotionally in an environment that he's going to live in. How to create a reality for this dog. Okay? And so what happens is, and you have a husband too, right?
Yeah, boyfriend.
Okay. Boyfriend. All right. I'm sorry. You guys are together. You're trying to make this thing happen. And as I mentioned to you before, the mistakes that we start to make is when we try to interact with a dog like another dog, when a dog is in this state of mind. Such things as wrestling or roughhousing. He's looking at you. You should be imprinting on him that you're a leader, but he's looking at you as a human being that's his leader, but you are asking him to challenge you. This is where the play comes in. And then he learns that people are weak. And when he becomes stressed and frustrated, when a dog becomes stressed and frustrated, they become dominant and assertive in their behavior if they're brought out in that way. And so this is where the people aggression comes from.
Yeah, that's really where we went wrong with it, too, because I was told, to get him over his stress and his anxiety was to introduce play to him. And that's what we did. We would try to get him to play and get him excited, and, it just was not the right thing to do.
Yeah, because, I've been teaching this a while now. Play represents the energy that was normally used for the hunt. Okay?
Right.
And what it means to the dog is different from what it means to the person. And so this is where we get into problems. So now this dog is lunging at dogs, and tell us about the first bite.
About the first human bite?
Yes.
The first human bite.
Or the second. Doesn't matter. A bite is a bite.
Oh, he's only had one so far.
Okay.
That was since I've had him. So the first human bite, I had a friend coming over. And I live in a building where I live up on one of the higher floors, and we have an elevator. And somebody was coming over to the apartment, and normally I would put him in the bedroom, but she happened to catch me at the end of a walk. I was walking everybody. It was with my boyfriend and my two other dogs, and my boyfriend was holding Stone's leash. And she came into the building. He's met her before, so I figured it would be all right. Everything would be fine. And we get to go into the elevator, and she looks at him, and she puts her arm out for him to sniff. And in a split second, he just lunged for her arm and grabbed her forearm.
Okay. Yeah.
And he didn't keep going. Like the second it happened, Chris, my boyfriend, pulled back on the leash, told him no. He hit the ground like he always does in a little ball, and that was it.
Okay. This is called a discipline bite. It happens like this a lot. What happens is the dog perceives his environment as prey because he's not introduced to his environment properly. What takes place on the outside of that door is different from what takes place on the inside of the door. So when a person comes from the outside inside, if the dog hasn't been thoroughly introduced to his environment, if he's stressed about it, then anything that comes inside is a representation of that stress. And to embolden a dog to come from a stressful state, they have to do something dominant, and this is where the bite comes from.
Right.
You understand?
Yeah, the only thing that was weird for me was that we had him, he's been in that situation a lot with us, and something like that had never happened. So, I don't know if it's him building more confidence, or just us reinforcing the play and the bite behavior, or it just all kind of manifested in that moment.
Well, yes. Think about this. If I'm your leader, I'm your alpha, and I ask you to challenge me, right? Then I am representing people, other people. You got it?
Right.
And if you can challenge me, then of course, in the dog's mind, that puts its owner in a subordinate position. It tells the dog to climb. So now a dog that's not stable, they see a person that they are unfamiliar with, and they become fearful, skittish, stressed. The way that they have learned to come out of that is to move forward and to do something dominant.
Right.
And as he gets stronger and his confidence begins to climb, because we try to build their confidence, we set them up to succeed rather than set them up to fail. But dogs learn perfectly well in their environment by being set up to fail, because they learn what to stay away from. And so it is inevitable. One day a person comes in, they reach out to touch, they do something subordinate. That's what the touching is. And then the dog is immediately emboldened by that, reaches out and bites.
Yeah.
You got it?
And with him, there's no other signs. I'm sure I just...
Hello?
It's Jenny. I was disconnected.
Oh, okay, Jenny. Hold just a moment.
Okay.
Hello?
Hi.
Yeah, hold on, Jenny. We got a disconnection here. Okay. Krista? We had a disconnection, so we want to bring Krista. Technology. Krista, are you there?
Hello? Oh, yeah, I'm here.
Okay. And so the bite takes place because of that.
Yeah.
Okay? So now you've had that happen. Fear has jumped into you. Dominance has jumped into the dog. And now you go and try to get help, and no one's trying to help you. Is that it?
Yeah, nobody wanted to help. People wouldn't even meet the dog or see him.
Okay. All right. Okay, so, here's the interesting part. I've known you for a little bit, okay? Just a second. Okay. Are you in now?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so anyway, Krista?
Yeah?
Okay, so I've known you for a bit. And finally, I guess you say, I'm going to come and check out Brandon. Is that how it went?
Yeah, I was actually told by a friend to revisit going to you.
Okay. And you were
And it was kind of a money thing before, because every trainer that I talked to had been, if I had $5,000, then, they would train my dog and look at my dog.
Okay.
And so it was kind of a money thing for us, and just from being told, other things about you or other things about other trainers, and, I was just very confused as to what to do.
Okay. If you don't eat, sleep, live this thing 24/7, you run away from it. You don't understand it.
Right.
You can't look at it and see what's happening. I've seen this so many times. When this dog walks into my door, I knew exactly what the problem was. That's confusing to people. They don't understand that. They don't know what I'm looking at. And when I took him in the back, because the first thing you told me is that you accepted the fact that he couldn't be with other dogs.
Yeah.
And I knew that's the first thing that he needed. And no one was willing to put this dog with other dogs. Is that correct?
Nobody would do it. And I had accepted the fact that I wasn't able to do it, and I didn't have the facilities to do it or the knowledge to do it, but I always had hope that somebody would be able to do it for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I took him from you because I know that's the first step in his rehabilitation. The people thing, I already know where that came from. This is all part of the stress. Stress comes out in different ways, okay?
Right.
If this dog doesn't know how to communicate properly with its own kind, then there's something wrong. What we need to find out is this genetic or is it learned? How much of it is genetic? How much of it is learned? Right? And is this dog mentally dominant, physically submissive, or is he physically dominant and mentally submissive? These are the things that I'm looking for. And so I did a little test in my office with him in terms of manipulation, just to see how he would respond to me manipulating him mentally. I didn't want him to feel like he was fighting for his life. Could you see that?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yeah.
So when I brought him back to you, you didn't know what I was actually doing with him after I finished that and took him back. But I noticed something that we didn't talk about. When I showed you the video of him with other dogs, you were ready to cry.
Yeah.
Because you saw something that you really secretly wanted to see, and you knew that's what you had to see. Was I right in thinking that?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's completely spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was told by so many people, so many trainers, quote-unquote trainers, or obedient people, or just people that call themselves dog people, that, if they're not socialized when they're younger, or they bite, that they're always going to do that.
Well,
you always hope for your dog to be able to be around other dogs and enjoy just being a dog.
Yeah, this is where I say they're right, but they're wrong, and they're wrong, but they're right. Because, yes, that's theory, and I talk about that. We're talking about the fear imprint period between 5 to 12 weeks if they're not socialized with people or if they're not socialized with other dogs. But how can we say that is exactly what happened if you don't do it?
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Exactly what you're saying.
If you don't live on the edge with this thing, aggression, if you don't believe that aggression is just the highest form of communication, if you don't believe that aggression comes from stress or that it's something that humans do to dogs, whether we know we're doing it or not, then you're not able to effectively evaluate this dog. But what you saw, and if anyone has gone to the Facebook to look at Stone and his video, you will see something that I'm sure, Krista, you never would have believed, that pit bull humping him.
Yeah.
That's very important. When dogs interact with each other, in order for them to move on and to elevate in life, they must be able to come together physically. That's the actual touch. The humping, the licking, the smelling, the physical contact actually calms them down. And these are the things that we are afraid of. And so if you're afraid of putting dogs together because they're going to come together and be physical together, then what's the purpose? We just cannot introduce dogs together all the time on leashes and never allow for them to investigate the way nature intended for them to investigate. So this guy Stone, I saw something in him after that that's totally different from what everyone else has said about this dog. And you would have been totally wrong to put him to sleep. That's what this program is all about. That's what the Fouché Way is all about. Understanding the concept of how nature intended dogs to process information and then put it into action. And you saw that.
Yeah. And that's what made me so angry about all those people that just wanted to throw him away. You know, I had people tell me, well, just start over with another dog, get a puppy.
It's easy.
But I see this dog at home with me, and I don't have blinders on.
Right.
I'm not just saying, oh, my dog's good. But I see him at home with my dogs. I see him interacting with the other dogs, you know, and he's capable of being around other dogs. Like,
yes, yes.
So for somebody just to want to give up on him and throw him away and just treat him like he's completely disposable, because there's, you know, so many other dogs in the shelters and there's other dogs that, you know, are more worthy of being saved than him, it just infuriated me.
And you know what? Some of that is true. There are a lot of dogs to be saved, but doesn't mean that Stone doesn't want to live.
Right.
That's the purpose of this show. That's the Fouché Way. This is what we want to do, is build a family here of people that, I mean, we want to believe this. But if you've got information that's not strong enough, a foundation for you to stand on, if you're using a method that's been used since the beginning of working with dogs that was actually designed for subordinate dogs, then you can't fool around in aggression, because aggression is more than just saying aggression. It has a lot to do with the mental state of the dog, just not being clear about what it wants you want it to do. It's misinterpreting our intentions. And this is what the Fouché Way is about. You saw it firsthand within a matter of how much time, Krista?
I mean, within, as soon as he walked in the door, pretty much.
Exactly. And so, look, we're not finished with Stone. We're not finished with you. We've got a long way to go, but not that far. And we're going to keep pushing. I want you to continue to bring him in for his rehabilitation, and I'm sure that I will talk with Lori about that, because I believe that she had referred you to come to me. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, Lori has been just completely instrumental. And I mean, since I've known you too, I've been watching her videos and the way she's kind of changed, the way she has all of her dogs together, and you know, she's been really, really helpful with stuff. I really appreciate her in Downtown Dog Rescue.
It's the best way. I mean, you know, Lori has drunk the Kool-Aid. Mm-hmm. We want you to drink some and everybody else, because the purpose here is to save lives, and that's what we're here for. Okay. And so I want to.
Yeah, and that's you know, if Stone's story can like help somebody else who's in the same situation, who's being told to put their dog down, you know, there's hope for that dog. You just need to drink Kool-Aid.
Yeah, believe me, his story has, and there are people out there that have dogs that are just like that. Don't kid yourself. And these are the people that we want to talk to. So, Krista, thank you.
Yeah, it's not going to Petco classes and stuff like that. It's, you know, it's just different.
They're good.
Like what you said.
Yeah, they're good, but this is different. This is different. That's why it's going to take a while for people to catch on to this, you know. But if we're all climbing the hill the same way, you know, people will climb on. We just got to keep moving with this thing, you know. So I want to thank you very much, Krista, for coming on, and I hope the best for Stone. I'm sure he's going to be okay as long as you stay plugged in to this way, and you're going to get some help, okay?
Great. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Really appreciate you, Hillary.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brandon.
Okay. Our next caller.
Okay, bye.
Yes. Our next caller, Jenny. Jenny, very interesting person. Very, very, it has really got under my skin in terms of just a really unique person, her and her husband. And I'm so happy to have her on the line today. And, you know, I'm so happy to have you here because, and that's the reason why I actually brought on Leroy. Leroy, you there?
Hey.
Yeah, okay. Leroy, that's my right-hand man. And I wanted Leroy to be on because, you know, he was very instrumental in working with your dog. And this is the first dog that we've had on that has actually gone through the full range of rehabilitation. And things are not happening right. And I want to talk about that on the air. So, Jenny, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, everyone.
What's going on?
Hello from New Orleans.
Yes, from New Orleans. Now, look, first of all, before we get started, you know, you've overcome some really serious stuff. You know, this is an anniversary coming up, right?
Thank you. Yes, this weekend on Saturday.
Right. Can you tell our listeners what that's from, what that's about?
17 years cancer-free.
Wow. That's big stuff, man.
It's amazing. It's a good week.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I'm glad I have you on at this time, too. You know, and Leroy can, you know, tell you, too, you know, we feel very strongly about Crybaby. And, you know, I'm sure Leroy has a special place in his heart for him because he spent a lot of time with him. Am I right, Leroy?
That's right.
Okay. So Crybaby, kind of, first of all, tell our listeners where that name came from because it's hilarious.
Because I'm going to get a lot of heat for it.
What's going on with what's the name about?
We adopted Crybaby about a year ago from one of my closest friends.
Okay.
And he's about 4.5 now. And she is a singer, and she travels a lot, and long story short, he isn't the easiest dog, and she was looking for a home for him, and I saw his picture on Facebook one day and commented how much I love him from the several times that I've had with him from living in L.A. right near her.
Mm-hmm.
And there it happened. My husband wanted a big dog. I've had little Daisy Bear for about 7 years at this time.
That's your Yorkie.
And I wanted a big, that's my little Yorkie Terrier.
Okay.
And I agreed. I wanted a big dog for New Orleans. It made sense. And it seemed like the easiest adoption, knowing where the dog was coming from.
Right.
And she adopted him from West LA.
Okay.
And he actually was originally called Peanut Butter, which was a real problem because anytime Bear would hear the name Peanut Butter, she would bark because she associates that with food.
Okay.
So Ryan and I are big fans of the Crybaby the movie, and Crybaby happens to cry every time he sees a dog, so that's where the name came from.
Okay. All right. So now you've got Crybaby.
It was better than Peanut Butter.
Okay. So now you've got Crybaby, and things began to roll. Tell me about that.
Immediately.
Yeah, because I mean, it was horrific. Some of the stories that I heard about him.
Well, when I got him, I was alone actually. My husband was traveling for work, so it was just myself and Daisy Bear. And when she brought him to me, and just a few days later, she left. And I was so excited that I immediately went on walk with the two of them. And it took literally 10 minutes for me to see what I was dealing with. I didn't see a neighbor crossing the street with their dog, just a regular lab dog. And suddenly, Crybaby just yanked the leash across the street, nearly took me down. Bear was off leash in the middle of the street, and that's when I knew something wasn't what I remembered. I remembered him as a loving dog, a dog who didn't realize he was 50 pounds and come and sit on your lap,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize how he was with other dogs, except I knew he would go on runs with his owner, and I just didn't understand. And I think that I had hope immediately, knowing that after he spent the first 24 hours with my little, 13-pound dog, who he had only met once or twice in the past, I still had instant hope. There's no way, maybe I have a dog-aggressive dog, but there's no way that this dog would ever have to be put down. And the first time I heard that there was the notion of that came 5 or 6 stories of really vicious attacks on other dogs that he had in the year prior to me adopting him.
Mm.
And I luckily practiced avoidance for the entire year, which is really hard and really unfortunate because New Orleans and LA, as we know, are such dog cities.
Sure.
And we just avoided other dogs until I found you.
Okay. And how did you find me? Was someone referred to? Or?
I had a friend who I mentioned it to just briefly and passing on the phone, and she said, "Hey, I sent my dog, my rescue dog, to Brandon.
Okay.
Do it now." And I called you up, remember, and I pleaded with you, and I said, "I'm in LA briefly. Please, let's do this."
Right. I remember now.
And I ran over there early in the morning. And after the first day, I mean, you remember, I was crying. My husband was even crying. We couldn't believe what we saw at the end of the 5 hours, that our hopes stood correct. And maybe our dog always wanted to be around dogs. Maybe those stories were because he had something wrong with him mentally.
Right. There was either or, right?
Either or.
Yeah.
And we discussed fear that very first day with you. And, I think that he's had way too much transition in his early years. And maybe it was fear of abandonment. I didn't know. I was looking for just the cause.
Right.
But I wasn't going to give up.
Good. Now, this is very interesting. The reason I'm so excited to talk to you on the show is because here's a dog that has gone through rehab. I mean,
the full rehab, the work.
Full. I mean, the total thing. Right, Leroy?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you've taken this dog to the dog park. I've done the rehabilitation. And, I mean, what was your opinion of him, Leroy?
Crybaby, working with him was pretty good.
Uh-huh. I mean, did
and,
you... was it
taking him to the park and stuff like that.
Uh-huh.
I mean, he's pretty chill.
Okay.
He was real chill, But besides that, he was a good dog.
All right. Now, this is what we found, though, Jenny. He has never been disciplined, never been dominated, and all he was given was love and affection. I will give you, Jenny, an A+ in the love and affection department.
Remember the first day I said to you and Leroy, I said, I would jump in front of a bus for this dog.
Exactly.
Already. And it's not even a year. And you said, I know that, but the problem is the dog knows that.
Exactly. And I mean, man, I got you on today, and this guy is acting like he has never been through rehab.
It's amazing. The day I picked him up with you guys, when I met you and Leroy at the park, because we were about to hit the road. It was the last chance we had.
Right.
He was with the dogs. It was amazing, and I had just rose-colored glasses. So did Ryan. And, we actually had to hit the road for a little road trip. And we had an incident just 3 days later.
Right, exactly. Now, before we get there, you're in the dog park, and you are looking at things that you never thought that you would see.
Never.
And you see dogs backing him down, snapping him away, all the things that just blow your mind.
It blew my mind, and every video blew my mind. Every video you put up, I would cry. I mean,
right.
Clearly, I just didn't ever think, and he was meeting new dogs, and he was in the van with other dogs, and everything, and I couldn't stop talking about it, which is why we left him with you for the full time.
Right.
To get the maximum. you know.
And then we hear about this. So let me just get into this. Why does this happen? How is it that a dog can go through rehabilitation, the owner comes, see everything you want to see, dog park, walking down the street, the whole bit, and then things go wrong? This is exactly what I'm talking about in regards to the Fouché way. It starts off where the owner and the dog walks into my place, and then the dog moves on to a different place, but the owner is still stuck in the mindset that they came in with. As if to say, this dog has a problem and we'd like for you to fix it, and we take ourselves out of the equation. So even though Crybaby, right, even though Crybaby made a change, you're still the old Jenny.
And the problem was, you know, which we learn now that we're back here and so far from you, is that without practicing this and being alpha 24/7, that we're to blame. Now, Ryan is 95% perfect, almost perfect all the time.
Yes, that's right.
I owned it with you from day 2 that I am just, you know, I'm almost there. But on my best day, I'm 75% because I have weak moments.
Right. Well, I want to tell you from the perspective of Crybaby, whatever emotional state that you are in, whatever's happening in your life, whatever you feel about what's going on in your life and how you project that from day to day, that's what Crybaby is believing. That's what he's feeding on. Okay? If you have fear, if you're insecure, if you don't know how to do this because you're not plugged in and talking to me about what you should be doing, then you are projecting those other emotional feelings, and that's the old you. So he says, that's what I'm comfortable with. If that's how you're going to be, that's how I'm going to be. And so that's what you're experiencing.
He misses the old me. It's obvious. He tests me, you know, but with Ryan, he's more secure because Ryan is doing the Fouché way.
Yes, he's changed. He's changed. But you have a bigger influence over him than your husband because your love is greater, you see? And so he believes that more because that's what you project more.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, look, this is no different between the relationship that you're in and the relationship that you have with Crybaby. If you're in this relationship, there are certain things that you're going to have to expect from him. But if you have gone through problems within your life, and you have, and you need that love from Crybaby, it's difficult for you to change because you think that relationship is going to change.
Correct.
And it's not. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. You've got to love him from the way nature intended for him to process love. You know, it's just like being in a relationship and your husband says, honey, I love you, but, you know, I don't want you to go out with your friends. I don't like them. Well, you're going to say, look, I don't need that kind of love. I need a different kind of love, that you trust me. You understand?
Absolutely. And I've had 8 years now of, you know, doting and not practicing anything even close to the Fouché way with Bear. You know, had I been practicing being her leader, being alpha from day one, I would have a completely different dog in her too. So that added to it being really difficult when we took him home, was trying to practice that with the two of them.
Right.
And, you know, for sure, I'm at best 50% with her. And with him, you know, it's been a real challenge. We'll have good weeks. We had 2 good weeks up until the hurricane. And then after the hurricane, we had to travel for it and evacuate. And came back, and, you know, it's like your mindset is so exhausted and stressed from that.
Right.
It's so hard to keep it up and to not fall into, you know, old patterns. You know, some days I think, how would I ever expect to have a life without other dogs and not make this work? and then I'm reminded that when I do practice it, this is the only way to go. Everyone in our life has dogs. This is a city that's off leash.
Mm-hmm.
I have no other choice, but I have to get into this 24/7.
Well, the way we're going to fix this, because you're never too late. Okay. I haven't seen a dog that I haven't been able to reach, and especially if the owner's willing and you're willing. If this takes me coming there, or when you come back here, the problem is you're not connected to me. And I want you to tell our listeners, we have not talked nearly as much as I would have liked to have talked to you, with a person being out of town.
In fact, one day when you called up, you said, I haven't heard from you. I know something's wrong.
Exactly.
And I said, yes, you're right. And we cut our trip short, came back to you, came back to the facility, saw it all over again. You even introduced my baby to a bunch of different dogs.
Yeah.
From when he was there, staying there. And I needed that double confirmation that this is reality.
Okay.
And I need to be talking to you every day.
Wow. Jenny, I would love to talk to you more. Time is rolling. We are going to get together. I'm going to make this happen for you, and I'm going to have you back on because people need to hear a different story from you. Okay?
Yes.
So I want to thank our listeners, thank you, Leroy, and we'll see you next Thursday. Don't forget about the seminar. Jenny, I wish you could be here. You're going to miss something, but we're going to see if we can put it on where you can hear this. Thank you,
Please
listeners.
Put it online.
Yes, and thank you for listening to the Fouché Way radio show, and we will see you next Thursday. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You're listening to Fouché Way with Brandon Fouché, right here on LA Talk Radio.